It's Friday, and this is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host, Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Fox Business anchor and co-host of The Bottom Line on Fox Business, Dagan McDowell, Fox weather meteorologist Amy Freeze, and Fox News contributor and host of The David Webb Show on Sirius XM Patriot, the great David Webb. Well, we begin with new bombshell allegations surrounding President Biden and his possible involvement in a Ukrainian bribery scheme. That's right, President Joe Biden this time, not Hunter. Senator Chuck Grassley just released an unclassified FBI document. The memo's claims are still unverified, but the details come from an FBI informant who is very trusted, and it's his conversation with a top Ukrainian energy executive. The informant outlines how then Vice President Biden and Hunter Biden allegedly coerced the executive into paying them. In exchange, they were going to get help getting a rival prosecutor fired. According to the memo, the CEO of the energy firm Burisma hired Hunter Biden to protect us through his dad from all kinds of problems. But it appears the price for the Biden services, well, it was pretty steep. Quote, it cost $5 million to pay one Biden and $5 million to another Biden. Who was the other Biden? And according to the memo, the Burisma CEO wasn't initially trying to pay up. It goes on to say Zolochevsky stated that he didn't want to pay the Bidens, and he was, quote, pushed to pay them. And the confidential source even inquired into the Bidens' future dealings with Burisma. Remember, Hunter Biden sat on the board of directors. The memo reads, quote, the informant inquired whether Hunter Biden or Joe Biden told Zolochevsky he should retain Hunter Biden. Listen to this. Zolochevsky replied, they both did. Interesting. Harris, I want to flash back to a moment, I believe it was 2018, when the former vice president, now current president Joe Biden, talked about Victor Shokin, the prosecutor who got fired. Let's watch.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, what, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
It's almost like he was saying, well, then blank, 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 they did what I told them to.
Almost.
Yeah, I don't understand how we really missed what was coming up, but we needed the documents, we needed the evidence to kind of tie everything together. But there were hints along the way that there were some levers that were being pulled. We just didn't see it. And I think, you know, with this particular president, he's been around for so long in politics that he knows how to pull everything off as a joke. I mean, everything becomes, you know, oh, I was just kidding. And now, of course, you mix that in with, I wasn't there, I don't remember, it couldn't have been me, I don't remember anything my son had said, it didn't happen that way, I was not involved. And he's good at that, too. Yeah. So this document is indisputable. And when you look at it, when it came out yesterday, I was surprised at how little of it was redacted. I mean, you really got to see a lot of information there.
You did. And the piece of information I was most interested in, David, we have been hit with a chorus ad nauseum. Joe Biden never talked to Hunter about his business dealings. Oh, wait, let's take a look at this from the FD 1023. These are quotes about Joe Biden, not Hunter, the chief financial officer of Burisma. They hired Hunter Biden to protect us through his dad. Head of Burisma said something to the effect of, don't worry, Hunter will take care of all of us through his dad. And then finally, on who wanted Burisma to hire Hunter, they both did. So this is on you, Joe, in this FD 1023.
Well, look, a point of common sense here. If you're hiring Hunter Biden, is it to get to James Biden? Because James Biden has no power to affect policy, has no power to stand there and brag at the Council on Foreign Relations. Well, I'm 6 hours, you better fire him. It's always been about Joe Biden, and the thing is, the FBI and DOJ that didn't want to investigate the path that would lead to the most likely suspect, the person who had the ability to affect policy, to make decisions, had to be Joe Biden. There's no other big guy, there's no other person in the Biden family who has access to the levers of government. And the FBI objecting, by the way, to the GOP releasing the various points of information, This is the same group that lied about the source documents, lied on FISA warrants, different persons within the FBI and DOJ, and also covered up information that was already verified. So there is nothing here that leads anywhere but to Joe Biden. You have to follow the investigative path, let the process play out, because it's not going to lead to James or Hallie or, Bo's widow, because none of them have the levers of government.
Yes.
I mean, who are you going to believe? Well, the people or your lying eyes? I don't know.
So the White House says these claims have been debunked for years and that they themselves have cautioned to take these with a grain of salt, they meaning those pushing the claims. That's their response. However, this FBI informant, he's trusted, highly credible. He's been with FBI for over a decade. He's been paid 6 figures. And Dagan, so if I'm the White House, here's what I want. This is the evidence. We're going to pop this up. This is the evidence. I want to know where it's at. I want to know now. 17 alleged recordings of conversations with the Bidens. 2 allegedly have Joe Biden's voice on them. Where are the recordings? Many text messages, we're told. 2 documents understood to be financial records. There's a witness. We have this list. We'll pop it up. A Burisma head, Zayachevsky. I want to know where that person is. And a supporting witness who was on all the phone calls named Ostapinko. Want to know where the supporting witness is. And let's pop that up for our viewers if we have it. Dagan.
Congress will be on top of this. And there's much discussion about, and even some people calling, I think Miranda Devine wrote a piece about it, calling for a special counsel.
Yes, she did.
That is not what you want to happen for a number of reasons. A special counsel would be appointed by and report to Attorney General Merrick Garland, the overlord of the department formerly known as Justice. So Garland would simply appoint somebody who's a good old Democrat who would bury the whole matter at this point. I talked to Andy McCarthy about this. Biden and company would use the special counsel as an excuse to stonewall Congress, tell the media we can't make any statements because it's an ongoing investigation.
Right. Yep.
The ongoing investigation would become a black hole, and all of this, including all of that evidence that you just mentioned, it would disappear. There would be no discussion of it. And everything would be up, compromising the investigation.
Sources
That's
and
why,
methods.
Yep.
right, that's why this is what happened during the, 5-year Hunter Biden investigation. So
That's
at
right.
this point, if there is a special counsel, a new one, that's appointed to oversee this, it will be horrible, and it will be specifically to make all of this disappear.
You know what else, just real quickly with Hunter Biden, and of course the judge is going to take a look in a couple of weeks of whether or not that plea deal he just made for tax fraud and the gun purchase that he made illegally. So at the very end of all of that plea bargaining, remember what was said, but our investigation is ongoing. And the reason that they can do that, and the reason they want to say that, is so that they don't have to give anything else up as these proceedings continue to go along.
Amy, one thing that was interesting to me is the reference to Joe Biden as the big guy in this, because this was in the context of a Ukrainian discussion. The initial big guy reference was in coordination and dialogue with the Chinese executive. So now you have 2 different foreign country executives, both referring to the big guy, and also the mention that it will take 10 years to find the financial records because of the shell game of payments. 10 years is what head of
the
Burisma.
number one question here is where will the accountability come in? But I liked what David said. I mean, it's common sense. It's not through Hunter. I think one of the Post articles quoted the secret FBI file saying, my dog is smarter than Hunter. So Hunter has not been the person that has been, it appears that he's not been the one who's been, triggering all of this. Instead, there's accountability. And also, when you're the president of the United States, you've got to answer to some of these allegations. I think the big question is, now that we know so many things, isn't that document that you referenced, the FD 1030, anybody can read that, the FD 1023, anyone can get that. So if you have any doubts or you wanted to read it, they can't now, they close it back up.
No, I said they can now.
Yeah, so now you can
no.
get access to that. You could see it for yourself. But where will the accountability come down the road?
If I could just interject real quick, this is where it goes back to Congress and Dagan's point. Enforce the subpoenas, use the sergeant at arms if necessary. If you subpoena someone and they don't show up, Congress is not powerless to act.
Yes, find the text, find the recordings, find the documents and find the two human sources.
And one thing
Find
to
them.
watch for, Robert Hur is overseeing the Biden document investigation. Garland could expand his jurisdiction and let him investigate it the way that Jack Smith is investigating January 6th and the Mar-a-Lago document.
Very important point. You are exactly right. And be sure to catch Bret Baier's interview with the IRS whistleblower, Joseph Ziegler, on Special Report tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern here on the Fox News channel. Won't want to miss it. They'll be going in depth on Ziegler's time working on the IRS Hunter Biden probe, along with his claims of repeated political interference that marred the investigation.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.